All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Alright, we got a little battle happening here. Who is the ruler of Micro Four Thirds? Is it you? Or is it you? Be nice, you two. You can be friends. So today I just want to talk about who rules Micro Four Thirds. Who should you buy into, Panasonic or Olympus? I feel like there's another one for some reason. Sharp. Did they ever make that 8K bullshit? Oh, they did not. Versus Olympus. So we'll discuss all the points, who has the better colors, autofocus, and you can pay attention, and we're gonna test these two cameras, very similar setups right now. Panasonic G9 with the Leica 12mm Tony 1.4 versus the Olympus 12mm Tony 2. It's a lot lighter. Is there more tone? Is it noticeable? I think I notice. That means this is trash. So I made a bunch of notes with talking points, and we'll discuss it. So first one is color. This is a red shirt. Who's doing it right? They're not entirely fair. I will change over to log on the Olympus, but we're in HLG on the Panasonic, and I've noticed you have to be to get any semblance of dignity in the dynamic range areas of our life. Oh, who's in the shade? Neither. Who's winning right now? Is one of them winning? On the Panasonic, I was searching, like, what is wrong with HLG? Why is it weird? Why is my skin green? Why is this so unappealing? And you can change it in DaVinci. There's this color space corrector or something, and then you flip it to Panasonic V gamut, and then the colors return to normal. Whereas on the Olympus, you don't even have to worry about it. You do not have to worry about a damn thing. This is the only camera I have that I can upload straight to camera. Actually, straight to camera. Oh God, I can upload it without color grading it. Fuji too, kind of, if you dial it in a bit. I usually just up the contrast a little bit, but I tried it. When I did that focal length video, Olympus is the only one I didn't even touch. I was like, oh, that's perfect, I'll make it worse. All right, Olympus is resting. So when it comes to stabilization, I'll do the Olympus after this, but I've noticed they're pretty much identical, unless you want a wide angle lens, and then the digital of the Olympus wins. But then you come in tighter. On the wide, that's fine. But on this, you don't want tightness. You don't want to be bringing it in on here. You do not want that in your life. They're both top notch though, like pretty much compared to anything else, either good enough. So, talking point, mute, moot, moo. Now versus the Olympus, you can see the stabilization is pretty much identical. You might even give the edge to Panasonic without the digital. It might be better. I doubt it. I think it has been. I've noticed it. This one wobbled a bit on the penny 12mm. We're vlogging in a field. There's two of us vlogging in a field and a homeless man laying in the sun. That's that. So now we've turned on digital. It crops in, it's an 18% crop. A little bit more, 18.7. That's quite the substantial crop, but then you're like, oh wow, look at us. Except you're in the shade and high noon at the same time. And now one thing you may have noticed, we switched to the Olympus audio with the secret mic that you're not allowed to know about that I actually showed you, so I'll have to blur that out. Olympus has terrible preamps. They're hissy, they're very loud. Panasonic wins hands down. And that should be important to you, because usually you plug a mic right in there. Sometimes people do the external. I do it at home. But when you're out here, Olympus, like, you don't really notice. There's still like traffic noise, so it's like, who cares? But if you really want the best, it's not Olympus, that's for sure. Even though on paper it says like 24-bit. I forget the rest of the stats. When it comes to autofocus, things get weird. They get weird fast. All right, I'm curious which has more dynamic range. You would think the Panasonic would, because we're in HLG, whereas we're just in a regular custom profile. I'll switch to log soon. There's a fly on me. Which is doing it. I'll be honest with you, I switched to manual exposure here, and then I couldn't change the ISO. I'm retarded. Someone send help. Send candles to my house. When it comes to handling, Panasonic wins hands down. We got the custom modes. You can easily switch between slow-mo and anything you want, whereas Olympus is entirely a photographic camera. They don't care about movie shooters. This is a movie, by the way, in case you didn't know. Raiders of the Lost Stove. It's a cooking show, but like a dangerous one. Wow. I forgot to test log. That was the whole point of sitting directly in the sun. Let's switch to log on Olympus. All right, now we're on log on the Olympus, and when I first tested this camera, this is the setting I was in, and it looked like absolute trash. It was over-sharpened. It just looked like digital video. It looked terrible. So then I escaped it, and then I was like, oh, there's the glory. Wow. I just realized Panasonic can't do the Cinema 4K. GH5S can, so strike on you, panty boy. But does Olympus now have more dynamic range? What fell on me? Does the autofocus still work? Who has more tone? Is it noticeable? Because this lens is so much lighter, and probably autofocus is better than this one does. This one loses me. It's bullshit. Now when it comes to lenses, and we're on the Olympus now, and I just want to see if it loses me as I go through challenging scenarios. I know it's the same mount, so you'd think, oh, you can use any lens. That's not the case. No, it is not, unless it is. If this loses me, then we'll know Olympus lenses perform much better on Olympus cameras. But if it doesn't, then we'll know that Leica 12mm Tony 1.4 can't really be used with this. So it's a Panasonic lens, even though they lie about being brothers. Are they? Would a brother kill his own brother for laundry detergent? I wouldn't. I swear to God if you're losing me. Inside the studio, I find these both work good. Panasonic and Olympus, but especially Olympus. Oh my God. But when it comes to who makes the better glass, because Panasonic has Leica on their side, that's kind of unfair advantage. And then Olympus has their pro lenses, 1.2s, which Pane only has the long one, the 42.5mm 1.2. They don't have the wide 1.2s, or do they? I don't think they do. I was having a debate with the six-pack guy, and he said he loves his Olympus 17mm pro lens much more than the Panasonic 15mm. But when I compared them, everybody preferred the Leica. You, me, we all did. Just better colors. Even though it was a terrible example just in the Henry's store, and I missed focus on the second shot for the Olympus, so hats off to you. But I just think Leica's magic. Leica's magic. But how is this lens? 12mm Tony 2. Is it magic? It can't be now that that's out. We're back out of log, by the way. I just did that for the one shot. When it comes to price, this is surprising. This camera's like 3 times the price. Don't quote me on that. But it's a lot more expensive than the G9. You can find that thing for like $800. Usually my affiliate links, I'm like, $800? Like that thing does 10-bit 4K 60, not together, those two things. That was a lot. As we switch to the cheaper Panasonic with the HLG format, keeping some dynamic range dignity. How can it be cheaper? Like this honestly has so much more features than the Olympus, but I do prefer the colors coming out of that Olympus, I'll tell you. There's something about it, it's just magical. But like 10-bit in here, can't see it, can't even notice it. I don't know how to take advantage of it. Better slow-mo in here. We'll test that 180p versus 120 loser P. The last thing is the size, as maybe Panasonic will lose me now in the challenging scenarios of Exposure Town. This is a lot heavier. The lens and the body, and they add up. yeah, hard. It's like a full frame weight almost. Some people like heavy cameras. I can understand it if you're behind the camera. The lighter your camera is, the more it will jitter and shake. Maybe that's why Panasonic's better at the Stab, because they're so heavy and fat. But if that is the reason, I have no way to end that sentence. Oh, I just know for sure this thing will lose you at some point. You make one video, you'll be out for a chunk, a good chunk, just no matter what. Even though sometimes it's like, wow, that's better than Sony with contrast detection. Like, it's smooth, but at some point it's pulsing and completely gone. We're on the 17mm 1.8, best vlogging lens. That's not too tight. That's not, oh. It's pretty light. Similar weight to the 12mm Tony too. Wow. This is still less tight than the Sony ZV-1, so much more cinematic. Wow. Here's the Panasonic 25 1.7, designed for vlogging and clipping highlights. That's the only downfall to both of these. They clip the highlights, there's no dynamic range. Where is it? Show it to me. But this kind of lens you do for the sit-down shots, although you do external audio. I'm a little quiet, I imagine. How glorious is that? You say you can't blur the background on Micro Loser. You can. Oh, you can. Alright, last test here. We're on the super zoom. 14 to 140. 3.5 to 5.6. That hurts. That hurts the ego right there. We found it. We found it, my friend. 140mm vlogs. It's a 280mm equivalent. It's tracking me. Look at the tunnel. That wasn't the last lens, this is. So I tested that 14 to 140 on the G9 because it is a Panasonic lens. I figured they had to get married. We're on the Pro lens here, 12 to 40, 2.8. This is the last lens, and I'll just give you my closing thoughts on which is the ruler of Micro Four Thirds. It's hard. It's funny, I would say Panasonic is. They have all the better features, way more designed for videos, but every time I reach for the Olympus. That's just the facts. Oh, that's heavy. It's a heavy lens. Zero benefit. Zero benefit, there's no tonne. It's just heavy. All heavy all the time. So, I don't know, I would kind of lean Olympus, but they're dead. They got sold. So I don't know if they're going to make a comeback. I doubt it. So I think Panasonic is the future-proof system. They are technically better, but if Pani could just borrow the Olympus colors and autofocus, that's the thing here. This is the search for the perfect camera. It's like it's always just some cameras are better at some things, others are better at others. What's more important to you? Stabilization or autofocus? You can't go wrong with Olympus. Just it's not very easy to use. You can't switch things very fast. Here's at 12mm, and there's the max. Wow. Oh, what is that? It's a butterfly. Track it. Oh, what a wasted opportunity. So let me know which system you thought performed better today in all my wacky tests, and which overall is better. Not for photography. Don't bring that pain to me. We're done. Thanks for watching. Thanks for buying a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. even though it's clipping. Subscribe for more videos.